But speaking of things that are competitive and can be a little bit physical, Chariot racing returns to Rigby, a revival of an ancient sport. This comes to the East Idaho News by Mary Boyle. We have a story here that is a very fascinating one about a sport that's racing back into the hearts of Rigby residents, chariot racing. Laramie Wheeler, a world champion cutter and chariot racing associate member, is part of a dedicated group in Rigby working to revive this ancient sport. Chariot racing, reminiscent of Roman times, involves teams of 1 or 2 horses, a chariot, and a driver competing at high speeds for a shot at a state and national glory. Despite the chilly season, with races running from December to March, chariot racing remains a family affair. Wheeler, whose father was once an announcer for the races, cherishes the sport's ability to unite families. The Rigby Club is now gearing up for championships in March, with races happening every weekend, weather permitting, of course. The sport's revival has been challenging. Attracting new faces and its teams is tough, and getting people to travel for an event in Wyoming and Utah adds another layer of difficulty. However, Rigby has scored a significant victory by securing the World Cutter Championships for the next 3 years. The World Championships, once a gathering around 50 teams, now sees about 15 to 20 teams, but Wheeler is optimistic, noting a growing interest and attendance, especially when teens from Afton, Wyoming came down to compete. The World Champion Cutter and Chariot Racing Association World Championship is set for Saturday, March 2nd and Sunday, March 3rd at the Jefferson County Fairgrounds in Rigby, with races starting at noon on both days, and the champion set to receive a new chariot. It is the perfect opportunity for newcomers to experience the thrill of the sport. Quote, "I think it's starting to become a hit," says Wheeler. "I think it'll be great," end quote. So if you're looking for a unique and exhilarating event, head over to Jefferson County Fairgrounds and witness the revival of chariot racing in Idaho. Which, we were going to talk about this last week, but for those who remember, last week was very packed. And so we bumped this to next week for our interesting and final story, which, I find it fascinating. It seems like here in Idaho, there is a certain amount of people that really like medieval culture. I don't know if that's part of like the homeschool ethos, because I swear most of my friends and stuff growing up in homeschool, there was something about medieval things that they loved so very much. I didn't quite get hooked on that too much. Personally, I prefer not the clashing of swords, but more the rumble of guns in my preference. I like to be able to shoot from a range. But, as the British would say, it's the only civilized way to do warfare at a distance, you say. But definitely interesting to see. Hopefully it continues. At some point, if I can get over there, I won't be able to for this one. It would be cool to go see it in action, especially with like other things like horse racing. I know for a long time in human history has been a big thing, but you don't see it quite as much anymore.
Yeah, no, this is a thing that sounds really awesome. I know even going back to watching Ben-Hur, this is something that chariot racing has always struck the hearts of people. You're going fast. Things are seemingly in any way dangerous. You're using horses and you're close to the ground. It's awesome. So I'm totally on board with these things happening. They could be a lot of fun to go to, and I'm totally down with this. As to homeschoolers seeming to like all things medieval, I think that might be a regional thing. In Michigan, we weren't into medieval stuff. So I don't know. It might be a regional thing or not. I don't know. We were into, video games and basketball and lots of ping pong.
I guess you guys were just a little bit more normal than we are here. I don't know if it's something maybe in the tap water or drinking water. It's just the mountains elicit some Lord of the Rings preference. You're like, I could see the mountains over there. I feel like I'm in a Tolkien story before I even began.
Oh, you know what?
I don't know.
When did the Lord of the Rings happen? Oh, man. All right. So the Fellowship released in, come on, IMDb, 2001. See, I graduated in 2004. So I was a sophomore.
With the Tolkien films?
It might have, because by the time The Lord of the Rings came out, I had already passed the formative stages. And if we were into anything, we were into things like Star Wars or gunfights from 80s, 90s action movies. That's what we grew up on. Or old Westerns. And I say old, we're not talking old now. They weren't that old then. So I truly wonder, like, The Lord of the Rings has had a huge cultural effect.
It has.
And I could see that being a big deciding factor, because The Fellowship came out in 2001, and it was 3 years later that The Return of the King happened. And then The Hobbit. When did The Hobbit come out? I'm Google fooing right now. The Hobbit came out in 2012.
So I would have been 10?
So not only did you have the backdrop of The Lord of the Rings, but then you had the Hobbit trilogy come out. And as bad as it was at least interesting.
How sorrowful of a film it was, it was still decent.
Well, I don't even know if I'd go that far, but they were movies that people watched. No, in my opinion, they're...
John's like, I'm not giving it inch here.
No, they're terrible.
Don't give it credit.
They are really bad movies, and I could talk a lot about how bad and why, but I'll just suffice it to say that I think they're just really bad movies. But having said that, you had The Lord of the Rings, and then you had the Hobbit come out, and I could see that having a huge
When did the Narnia films start coming out?
Oh, that's another one.
Did it come out about the same time? Did it like double layer it?
Because, yeah. So Narnia was 2005, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. That came out my freshman year in college. So, yeah.
If you ask me, like, you've got your big series, right? You've got Lord of the Rings, right? Maybe Narnia you put in there. You've got Star Trek. You've got Star Wars. Those are the big ones that come to mind off the top of my head, right? You've got all those. Here again, oddly, somehow I missed it. The decade that was all about medieval things, right? As me and John are talking about and realizing now. It skipped me because I have no fascination with it whatsoever. But Star Wars, oh my goodness, I gotta love that. Or films about, what is that one? I'm trying to remember the name of it now. It's set during the Revolutionary War, and it's about a dad that originally doesn't want to be involved in the war.
Oh, The Patriot.
Thank you. Like, that right there. That was my childhood. Those were my films. I love that. Like, the American Revolutionary War, Star Wars, right. That was my thing. So I've only probably watched the Lord of the Rings films once, each one.
That's interesting.
Coming back to chariot racing, though, we love tangents here at Local Yokel, Idaho. If you couldn't notice, maybe we should make a paid thing where you guys can listen to us go through everything. But yeah, I think this is super cool. I feel like there aren't enough horse-based like events or things or sports going on anymore. They used to be a big part of human culture, it seemed. And I don't know what happened. My guess is that there was like a bad connotation with betting, right? And bribery and...
Yeah. Also, horses are expensive.
This is true. Unless people had them, rather than like today, there's a lot of car racing because...
People have cars. Yeah, I don't know if there's more reason than that, but yeah, horses are expensive.
Right. And land and maintenance and medicals and all the thing. But if you're someone over in Eastern Idaho, it might be something really cool to check out. And if you guys do, please tag us. If you're on Twitter, if you tag us there, I will make sure to retweet that post if you make sure to shoot a video of it, because that would be super cool to see some firsthand footage of what it looks like over there.